Sure, Allison was Allison. She was a shoulder to cry on, and the only one you'd ever want to call up talking about your crush to find out how he felt about you, and the final word on whether your jeans made your butt look big. But the girls were also afraid of her. Allie knew more about them than anyone else did, including the bad stuff they wanted to bury, just like a body. It was horrible to think Allie might be dead, but if she was, at least their secrets were safe. And they were, for 3 years anyways. Pretty Little Liars by Sara Shepard. How it all started. Imagine it's a couple of years ago, the summer between 7th and 8th grade. You're tan from lying out next to your rock-lined pool. You've got on your new juicy sweats, remember when everybody wore those? And your mind's on your crush, the boy who goes to that other prep school whose name we won't mention and who folds sheets at the Abercrombie in the mall. You're eating your Cocoa Krispies just how you like 'em, doused in skim milk, and you see this girl's face on the side of the milk carton, missing. She's cute, probably cuter than you, and has a feisty look in her eyes. You think, maybe she likes soggy Cocoa Krispies too. And you bet she'd think Abercrombie boy was a hottie as well. You wonder how someone so much like you went missing. You thought only girls who entered beauty pageants ended up on the side of milk cartons. Well, think again. Aria Montgomery burrowed her face in her best friend Allison De Laurentiis' yard. Delicious, she murmured. Are you smelling the grass? Emily Fields called from behind her, pushing the door of her mom's Volvo wagon closed with her long freckly arm. It smells good. Aria brushed away her pink-striped hair and breathed in the warm evening air. Like summer. Emily waved bye to her mom and pulled up the blah jeans that were hanging on her skinny hips. Emily had been a competitive swimmer since Tadpole League, and even though she looked great in a Speedo, she never wore anything tight or remotely cute like the rest of the girls in her 7th grade class. That was because Emily's parents insisted that one built character from the inside out. Although Emily was pretty certain that being forced to hide her Irish Girls Do It Better baby tee at the back of her underwear drawer wasn't exactly character enhancing. You guys! Allison pirouetted through the front yard. Her hair was bunched up in a messy ponytail, and she was still wearing her rolled-up field hockey kilt from the team's end-of-the-year party that afternoon. Allison was the only 7th grader to make the JV team, and got rides home with the other Rosewood Day schoolgirls, who blazed Jay-Z from their Cherokees and sprayed Allison with perfume before dropping her off so that she wouldn't smell like cigarettes they'd all been smoking. What am I missing? Called Spencer Hastings, sliding through a gap in Allie's hedges to join the others. Spencer lived next door. She flipped her long, sleek, dark blonde ponytail over her shoulder and took a swig from her purple Nalgene bottle. Spencer hadn't made the JV cut with Allie in the fall and had to play on the 7th grade team. She'd been on a year-long field hockey binge to perfect her game, and the girls knew she'd been practicing dribbling in her yard before they arrived. Spencer hated when anyone was better at anything than she was, especially Allison. Wait for me! They turned to see Hannah Marin climbing out of her mom's Mercedes. She stumbles over her tote bag and waved her chubby arms wildly. Ever since Hannah's parents had gotten a divorce last year, she'd been steadily putting on weight and outgrowing her old clothes. Even though Allie rolled her eyes, the rest of the girls pretended not to notice. That's just what best friends do. Allison, Aria, Spencer, Emily, and Hannah bonded last year when their parents volunteered them to work Saturday afternoons at Rosewood Day School's charity Drive Well, all except for Spencer, who volunteered herself. Whether or not Allison knew about the other four, the four knew about Allison. She was perfect, beautiful, witty, smart, popular. Boys wanted to kiss Allison, and girls, even older ones, wanted to be her. So the first time Allie laughed at one of Aria's jokes, asked Emily a question about swimming, told Hannah her shirt was adorable, or commented that Spencer's penmanship was way neater than her own, they couldn't help but, be dazzled. Before Allie, the girls had felt like pleated, high-waisted mom jeans awkward and noticeable for all the wrong reasons. But then Allie made them feel like the most perfect-fitting Stella McCartneys that no one could afford. Now, more than a year later, on the last day of 7th grade, they weren't just best friends. They were the girls of Rosewood Day. A lot had happened to make it that way. Every sleepover they had, every field trip had been an adventure. Even homeroom had been more memorable when they were together. Reading a steamy note from the varsity crew captain on his math tutor over the PA system was now a Rosewood Day legend. But there were other things they all wanted to forget. And there was one secret they couldn't even bear to talk about. Allie said that secrets were what bonded their five-way best friendship together for eternity. If that was true, they were going to be friends for life. I'm so glad this day is over, Allison moaned before gently pushing Spencer back through the gap in the hedges. Your barn. I'm so glad 7th grade is over, Arya said as she, Emily, and Hannah followed Allison and Spencer toward the renovated barn-turned-guest house where Spencer's older sister Melissa had lived for her junior and senior years of high school. Unfortunately, she just graduated and was headed to Prague this summer, so it was all theirs for the night. Suddenly, they heard a very squeaky voice. Allison! Hey, Allison! Hey, Spencer! Allison turned to the street. Not it, she whispered. Not it. Spencer, Emily, and Arya quickly followed. Hannah frowned. Shit. It was this game Allie had stolen from her brother Jason, who was a senior at Rosewood Day. Jason and his friends played it at an inter-prep school field party when scoping out girls. Being the last to call out not it meant you had to entertain the ugly girl for the night while your friends got to hook up with her hot friends, meaning, essentially, that you were as lame and unattractive as she was. In Allie's version, the girls called not it whenever there was someone ugly, uncool, or unfortunate near them. This time, not it was for Mona Vanderwall, a dorky from down the street whose favorite pastime was trying to befriend Spencer and Allison and her two freaky friends, Chassie Bledsoe and Fee Templeton. Chassie was the girl who's hacked into the school's computer system and then told the principal how to better secure it. And Fee Templeton went everywhere with a yo-yo. Enough said. The three stared at the girls from the middle of the quiet suburban road. Mona was perched on her Razor scooter. Chassie was on a black mountain bike, and Fee was on foot with her yo-yo, of course. You guys want to come over and watch Fear Factor? Mona called. Sorry, Allison simpered. We're kind of busy. Chassie frowned. Don't you want to see what they eat? Don't you want to see when they eat the bugs? Gross, Spencer whispered to Arya, who then started pretending to eat invisible lice off Hannah's scalp like a monkey. Yeah, I wish we could, Allison tilted her head. We've planned the sleepover for a while now, but maybe next time? Mona looked at the sidewalk. Yeah, okay. See ya. Allison turned around, rolling her eyes, and the other girls did the same. They crossed through Spencer's back gate. To their left was Allie's neighboring backyard, where her parents were building a 20-seat gazebo for their lavish outdoor picnics. Thank God the workers aren't here, Allie said, glancing at the yellow bulldozer. Emily stiffened. Have they been saying stuff to you again? Easy there, killer, Allison said. The other girls giggled. Sometimes they called Emily Killer, as in Allie's personal pit bull. Emily used to find it funny too, but lately she wasn't laughing along. The barn was just ahead. It was small and cozy and had a big window that looked out to Spencer's large rambling farm, which had its very own windmill. Here in Rosewood, Pennsylvania, a little suburb about 20 miles away from Philadelphia, you are more likely to live in a 25-room farmhouse with a mosaic tilted pool and hot tub, like Spencer's house, than in a prefab McMansion. Rosewood smelled like lilacs and mown grass in the summer, and clean snow and wood stoves in the winter. It was full of lush, tall pines across the rustic, family-run farms and the cutest foxes and bunnies. It had fabulous shopping and colonial-era estates and parks for birthdays, graduations, as just 'cause we feel like it fiats. And Rosewood boys were gorgeous in that glowing, healthy, just stepped out of Abercrombie catalog way. This was Philadelphia's main line. It was full of old, noble bloodlines, older money, and practically ancient scandals. As they reached the barn, the girls heard giggles coming from inside. Someone squealed, I said stop it! Oh, God, Spencer moaned. What is she doing here? As Spencer peeked through the keyhole, she could see Melissa, her prim and proper, excellent at everything older sister, and Ian Thomas, her tasty boyfriend, wrestling on the couch. Spencer kicked at the door with the heel of her shoe, forcing it open. The barn smelled like moss and slightly burnt popcorn. Melissa turned around. What the fuck? She asked. Then she noticed the others and smiled. Oh, hey, guys. The girls eyed Spencer. She constantly complained that Melissa was a venomous super bitch, so they were always taken aback when Melissa seemed friendly and sweet. Ian stood up, stretched, and grinned at Spencer. Hey. Hi, Ian, Spencer replied in a much brighter voice. I didn't know you were here. Yeah, you did. Ian smiled flirtatiously. You were spying on us. Melissa readjusted her long blonde hair and black silk headband, smiling at her sisters. So what's up? She said, a little accusingly. It's just, I didn't mean to barge in, Spencer sputtered. But we were supposed to have this place tonight. Ian playfully hit Spencer on the arm. I was just messing with you, he teased. A patch of red crept on her neck. Ian had messy blonde hair, sleepy-looking hazelnut-colored eyes, and totally grope-worthy stomach muscles. Wow, Allie said in a too loud voice. All heads turned to her. Melissa, you and Ian make the cutest couple. I've never told you, but I've always thought it. Don't you agree, Spence? Spencer blinked. She said quietly. Melissa stared at Allie for a second, perplexed, and then turned back to Ian. Can I talk to you outside? Ian drowned his Corona as the girls watched. They had only ever drank super secretly from the bottles in their parents' liquor cabinets. He set the empty bottle down and offered them a parting grin as he followed Melissa outside. Adieu, ladies, he winked before closing the door behind him. Allison dusted her hands together. Another problem solved by Allie D. Are you going to thank me now, Spence? Spencer didn't answer. She was too busy looking out the barn's front window. Lightning bugs had begun to light up the purplish sky. Hannah walked over to the abandoned popcorn bowl and took a big handful. Ian's so hot, he's like hotter than Sean. Sean Ackard was one of the cutest guys in their grade and the subject of Hannah's constant fantasies. You know what I heard? Allie asked, flopping down on the couch. Sean really likes girls who have appetites. Hannah brightened. Really? No, Allison snorted. Hannah slowly dropped the handful of popcorn back into the bowl. So girls, Allie said, I know the perfect thing we can do. I hope you're not streaking again, Emily giggled. They've done that a month earlier in the freezing freaking cold, and although Hannah had refused to strip down to less than her undershirt and day of the week panties, the rest of them had run through a nearby barren cornfield without a lick on. You love that a little too much, Allie murmured. The smile faded from Emily's lips. But no, I was leaving this for the last day of school. I learned how to hypnotize people. Hypnotize, Spencer repeated. Matt's sister taught me, Allie answered, looking at the framed photo of Melissa and Ian on the mantel. Her boyfriend of the week, Matt, had the same sandy-colored hair as Ian. How do you do it? Hannah asked. Sorry, she swore me to secrecy, Allie said, turning back around. You want to see if it works? Arya frowned, taking a seat on a lavender floor pillow. I don't know. Why not? Allie's eyes flickered to a stuffed pig puppet that was peeking out of Arya's purple sweater net tote bag. Arya was always carrying around weird things, stuffed animals, random pages torn out of old novels, postcards of places she's never visited. Doesn't hypnosis make you say stuff that you don't want to say? Arya asked. Is there something you can't tell us? Allie responded. And why do you still bring that pig puppet everywhere? She pointed at it. Arya shrugged and pulled the stuffed pig out of her bag. My dad got me Pigtunia in Germany. She advises me on my love life. She stuck her hand into the puppet. You're shoving your hand up its butt, Allie squealed, and Emily started to giggle. Besides, why do you want to carry around something your dad gave you? It's not funny, Arya snapped, whipping her head around to face Emily. Everyone was quiet for a few seconds, and the girls looked blankly at one another. This had been happening a lot lately. Someone, usually Allie, mentioned something, and someone else got upset, but everyone was too shy to ask what in the world was going on. Spencer broke the silence. Being hypnotized, does sound sort of sketch. You don't know anything about it, Allison said quickly. Come on, I could do it to all of you at once. Spencer picked at the waistband of her skirt. Emily blew air through her teeth. Arya and Hannah exchanged a look. Allie was always coming up with stuff for them to try. Last summer, it was smoking dandelion seeds to see if they'd hallucinate. And this past fall, they'd gone swimming in Peck's Pond, even though a dead body was once discovered there. But the thing was, they often didn't want to do the things that Allie made them do. They all loved Allie to death, but they sometimes hated her too, for bossing them around and for the spells she'd cast on them. Sometimes in Allie's presence, they didn't feel real exactly. They felt kind of like dolls, with Allie's arranging their every move. Each of them wished that just once they had the strength to tell Allie no. Please, Allie asked. Emily, you want to do it, right? Emily's voice quivered. Well, I'll do it, Hannah butted in. Me too, Emily said quickly after. Spencer and Arya reluctantly nodded. Satisfied, Allison shut off the lights with a snap and lit several sweetly scented vanilla votive candles that were on the coffee table. Then she stood back and hummed. Okay, everyone, just relax, she chanted, and the girls arranged themselves in a circle on the rug. Your heartbeat's slowing down. Think calm thoughts. I'm going to count down from 100, and as soon as I touch all of you, you'll be in my power. Spooky, Emily laughed shakily. Allison began. 100, 99, 98, 22, 11, 5, 4, 3. She touched Arya's forehead with the fleshiest part of her thumb. Spencer uncrossed her legs. Arya twitched her left foot. 2. She slowly touched Hannah, then Emily, and then moved toward Spencer. 1. Spencer's eyes sprang open before Allison could reach her. She jumped up and ran to the window. What are you doing? Allie whispered. You're ruining the moment. It's too dark in here. Spencer reached up and opened the curtains. No! Allison lowered her shoulders. It's got to be dark. That's how it works. Come on. No, it doesn't. The blind stuck. Spencer grunted to wrench it free. No, it does. Spencer put her hands on her hips. I want it lighter. Maybe everyone does. Allison looked at the others. They all still had their eyes closed. Spencer wouldn't give in. It doesn't always have to be the way you want it, you know, Allie. Allie barked out a laugh. Close them. Spencer rolled her eyes. God, take a pill. You think I should take a pill? Allison demanded. Spencer and Allison stared at each other for a few moments. It was one of those ridiculous fights that could have been about who saw the new Lacoste polo dress at Neiman Marcus first, or whether honey-colored highlights looked too brassy. But it was really about something else entirely. Something way bigger. Finally, Spencer pointed at the door. Leave. Fine! Allison strode outside. Good! But after a few seconds passed, Spencer followed her. The luscious evening air was still, and there weren't any lights on in their family's main house. It was quiet, too. Even the crickets were quiet, and Spencer could hear herself breathing. Wait a second, she cried after a moment, slamming the door behind her. Allison! But Allison was gone. When she heard the door slam, Arya opened her eyes. Allie? She called. Guys? No answer. She looked around. Hannah and Emily sat like lumps on the carpet, and the door was open. Arya moved out to the porch. No one was there. She tiptoed to the edge of Allie's property. The woods spread out in front of her, and everything was silent. Allie? She whispered. Nothing. Spencer? Inside, Hannah and Emily rubbed their eyes. I just had the weirdest dream, Emily said. I guess it was a dream. It was really quick. Allison fell down this really deep well, and there was all these giant plants. That was my dream too, Hannah said. It was? Emily asked. Hannah nodded. Well, kind of. There was a big plant in it, and I think I saw Allison too. It might have been her shadow, but it was definitely her. Whoa, Allie whispered. They stared at each other, their eyes wide. Guys! Arya stepped back through the door. She looked very pale. Are you okay? Emily asked. Where's Allison? Arya's creased her forehead. And Spencer. We don't know, Hannah said. Just then Spencer burst back into the house. All the girls jumped. What? She asked. Where's Allie? Hannah asked quietly. I don't know, Spencer whispered. I don't know. The girls fell silent, and all they could hear were the tree branches sliding across the windows. It sounded like someone scraping her long fingernails against a plate. I think I want to go home, Emily said. The next morning, they still hadn't heard from Allison. The girls called one another to talk, a 4-way call this time instead of 5. Do you think she's mad at us? Hannah asked. She seemed weird all night. She's probably at Katie's, Spencer said. Katie was one of Allie's field hockey friends. Or maybe she's with Tiffany, that girl from camp, Arya offered. I'm sure she's somewhere having fun, Emily said quietly. One by one, they all got calls from Mrs. De Laurentiis asking if they'd heard from Allie. At first, the girls all covered for her. It was the unwritten rule. They'd cover for Emily after she snuck out after 11 p.m., weekend curfew. They'd fudged the truth for Spencer when she borrowed Melissa's Ralph Lauren duffel bag and then accidentally left it on the seat of the SEPTA train, and so on. But as each one hung up with Mrs. De Laurentiis, a sour feeling swelled in her stomach. Something felt horribly wrong. That afternoon, Mrs. De Laurentiis called again, this time in a panic. By that evening, the De Laurentises had called the cops, and the next morning there were cop cars and new vans camped out on the De Laurentises' normally pristine front lawn. It was on the local news channel's wet dream. A rich, pretty girl lost in the safest upper-class towns in the country. Hannah called Emily after watching the first nightly Allie's news report. Did the police interview you today? Yeah, Emily whispered. Me too. You didn't tell them about, she paused, about the Jenna thing, did you? No, Allie gasped. Why do you think they know something? No, they couldn't, Hannah whispered after a second. We're the only ones who know, the four of us, and Allison. The police questioned the girls along with practically everyone from Rosewood, from Allie's second-grade gymnastics instructor to the guy who'd once sold her Marlboros at the Wawa. It was the summer before 8th grade, and the girls were supposed to be flirting with older boys at pool parties, eating corn on the cob in one another's backyards, and shopping all day at the King James Mall. Instead, they were crying alone in their canopied beds or staring blankly at their photo-covered walls. Spencer went on a room-cleaning binge, reviewing what her fight with Allie had really been about and thinking about the things she knew about Allie that none of the others did. Hannah spent hours on her bedroom floor hiding empty Cheeto bags under her mattress. Emily couldn't stop obsessing over a letter she'd sent to Allie before she disappeared. Had Allie ever gotten it? Arya sat at her desk with Pigtunia. Slowly, the girls began calling one another less frequently. The same thoughts haunted all four of them, but there wasn't anything left for them to say to one another. The summer turned into the school year, which turned into the next summer. Still no Allie. The police continued to search, but quietly. The media lost interest, heading off to obsess over a Center City triple homicide. Even the De Laurentises moved out of Rosewood, almost 2.5 years after Allie's disappearance. As for Spencer, Arya, Emily, and Hannah, something shifted in them too. Now, if they passed Allie's old street and glanced at her house, they didn't go into instant cry mode. Instead, they started to feel something else. Relief. Sure, Allison was Allison. She was a shoulder to cry on, and the only one you'd ever want to call up talking about your crush to find out how he felt about you, and the final word on whether your jeans made your butt look big. But the girls were also afraid of her. Allie knew more about them than anyone else did, including the bad stuff they wanted to bury, just like a body. It was horrible to think Allie might be dead, but if she was, at least their secrets were safe. And they were, for 3 years anyways.